Welcome to the Coaching for Life webinar. I am Wade Salem, the founder of Coaching for Life. It's great to be with you today. Thank you for taking the time out to join us, and we hope that this time about the 4 cornerstones to Coaching for Life will encourage you, challenge you, and rejuvenate you in your coaching to be have a greater perspective, balance, and the pursuit of excellence in what you do. First thing we want to talk about is the 4 cornerstones, and we have come up with a formula in Coaching for Life, and the definition of a formula, obviously the blueprint, it's a modus operandi, a procedure, and I love down here, it's a prescribed way of doing something to achieve a particular end. And we believe that the 4 cornerstones in the complete player are the body, the social, the mind, and the spirit of a player. There's the 4 areas that need to be worked on. There's the 4 cornerstones to develop, and we also believe this is the same formula for coaches. And we want to go through these 4 cornerstones that you can evaluate your coaching, you can build a foundation for your coaching, and see where you're at, that you have a healthy balance in your coaching, in what you're doing to have a lasting impact and influence on those that you are leading. We believe the 4 cornerstones of Coaching for Life are these 4 right here. Is for the body, obviously, the competitive piece. For the social, the connection. For the mind, is that you're competent, in the spirit, your character. And we believe that we should be able to hire or fire coaches on these 4 things. And I think it's a great way to realize what coaching really is. How can I be good in each area of my life and my coaching? And it's a great perspective that's put in place, almost like creating a framework where if you're building a house, now you know where your rooms are and what the rooms and the functions for each one are. So let's jump into each one of these and break them down, and then summarize it at the end of the impact and the legacy we can leave as a coach. First off, we're talking about the body of the coach. First, we'd ask, are you competitive? And we believe that being competitive is, do you develop skills, and what is your game management like? Decades in practice, can you develop skills? Can you develop better players? Can you get the job done in practice? Are you competitive in what you do? And I'm not talking about just being fiery and throwing chairs and screaming and yelling, but are you a competitor? Will you continue to coach to the end? I love the quote there by Tommy La Russa, who Major League Baseball manager, is being involved in competition is a privilege and an opportunity. By pushing yourself to the limit of your ability, when it's over, you will have earned respect of your opponents, coaches, and yourself. At the end of the day, do your teams and are you competitive in playing? Just an example here is you're watching a middle school basketball game, and there was a team that was in the blue, and they were just really, one of those days that was struggling. The ball wasn't going in, wasn't bouncing the right place, and you're getting at the end of the third quarter, start of the fourth, they're down 8 points. And, I mean, it was just one of those days. But it got to the point there where the kids were frustrated, the coach was frustrated, but you literally saw the coach give up. You saw the coach at the point, another turnover or mislayup, would literally sit down in the chair, throw his head back, his arms in the air, and just kind of wave them back at the court like just to blow them off, like, you guys are just driving me nuts. What was amazing about this, the other team would go down, miss the shot, and the blue team would get the rebound, come back, and they were still in the ballgame. But this went on for about a 3-minute period where nothing went right, and, you know, they're down 8, they're down 10, they come back and make a basket, but the coach just stopped coaching. He just kind of put his leg over his knee and folded it and just sat there, but the players kept looking over at the bench after the ball would bounce off someone's leg or a missed shot. They were looking to draw strength from the coach in that time, up to a time when they really needed to be encouraged to keep playing to the end. And I think at times as coaches, are we still competitive? Are we still competitive to the end with our games? And that we just don't give up on our players, but keep coaching, being competitive, and can we develop skills, and what is our game management like? The second cornerstone is the social piece. It's the connection piece. And here we're talking about engaging genuine supportive relationships. Are there healthy relationships? Are there healthy boundaries? Are there productive relationships in your program? The quote there from Coach Gary Pinkel from Missouri came out in a Sports Illustrated article in 07 where Missouri was in the top 5 that year. They were having a great year. They kind of moved up to the upper rankings after a few years of, being a top 20 team. Also, they busted loose and were up there. Sports Illustrated sent a reporter down there, and the article was really amazing. The article started reporter said something's changed here, something's relaxed, Jim, or something's going on here. And by the time the reporter got to the Coach Finkel's office to start the interview, he said, Coach, word on the street out here is that you softened up. And Coach Finkel's reaction, he said, our structure and our discipline, our program has not changed whatsoever. And he goes, what's changed is me. And this quote is pretty big because he said, I've changed. I've let my guard down. I make it a point to talk to my players more. I hug them more. I'm in their world, and I've never enjoyed coaching more. Of course, the question comes, well, how did this happen? And it was the year before they had a player who was a sophomore from Los Angeles who collapsed during spring ball on the field and died. And Coach talked about when it was over, he went back to his office and sat in his chair. He realized I didn't even know him. He was a kid in this program as a sophomore, and he didn't have a relationship with him. Turning point for Coach. And we hear that term all the time, that kids would run through walls for their coach. It's not rocket science. It's simply, do you have good relationships with them? Do you treat them with respect and dignity and care for them and love them? And how do we do that on a consistent basis? And if you do that, kids will give you more. And so as a coach, what's your connection like? How will you connect? I'm talking about being a friend. I'm talking about connecting with them and treating them well. And it just works when it happens. And so be competent. And the second one, be the connection piece. The third one, the mind, is as a coach, are you competent? Here we're talking knowledge and teaching of the game. Competence means the ability to get something done. And Coach Landry's quote there is really good. Believe getting a team prepared so it knows it has the necessary confidence when it steps on the field to play a good game. I mean, I know a lot of coaches who know the game, but not everybody can teach it. I know some guys are great teachers, but maybe they don't know enough. And here's the question. If I give you my kid to be on your team for a season, for a year, will they learn the game? Will they walk away where they know the game better? They've been taught the game. They know the ins and outs. They have a greater understanding of how things work. And are we just creating robots and plays? Are we really teaching the game? And, may we once again be incredible teachers of the game, patient teachers of the game. But as a coach, your knowledge and teaching of the game is your competence. It's one of the cornerstones to be coaching for life. The fourth one is your spirit, which we believe is really your character. It's the integrity. It's your moral and spiritual influence on your team. This one's really the rock of them all. The quote we have there is pretty amazing, as we can compensate for lack of experience, skill, and education in many areas of leadership, but deficiencies in character will contradict our message and undermine our credibility. Character is probably the biggest piece here, probably the most important piece. It's the most lasting piece. At the end of the day, this is the piece that's all that's really standing. So this is absolutely key for coaches, and I would say that your team is drawing strength from the character of the coach, and your team will reflect or model the character of the coach. Basically, the kingdom just reflects the character of the king. And this is a huge piece of, as a coach, what am I giving to my team besides skills and knowledge of the game and teamwork? What am I giving them that's going to last? This character is the lifeline to the next generation. So this is a huge piece of one of the cornerstones. So let's put all this together, and some ways to help you measure success or failure, I found this, is at the end of the game. Can you really look at the four ways of succeeding? Were we competitive? Were we competent? Were we connected? Did we stay together? And did we play with character? Four ways you can see if you failed is four ways of failure. Really, is you don't apply, you don't learn, you blame, and you quit. And you think about those. You can come off the field and say, you know what, there's certain things we need to get better at. We did this in practice and we didn't apply them. Well, guess what? That's failure. You could have won the game, but guess what? There were certain things we made adjustments and we didn't correct. Or maybe we didn't learn. If you walk away and people are pointing fingers at the game and they're not still together and trusting and caring for one another, you failed. I've seen winning teams. I didn't get the ball enough, and they're losing as they're coming off the floor, although the scoreboard was on their side. Or did your team quit? And so it's a great way to measure success, really, I think, with the intrinsic and the internal values, what we're trying to instill in our kids and our players. It gives me a great perspective to take these four cornerstones and apply them and measure them in the success of our program. But there's 4 ways you fail. You quit, you blame, you don't learn, you don't apply, and they fit right back into the 4 cornerstones in the formula for coaching for life. So this is a, how are you seen as a coach? As you're leading, as you're serving, as you're coaching, how do your players see you on a weekly basis, on a daily basis? If you go down the list and had to circle one, would you have more on the right side or the left side? The pressures of sports, the stress of sports, many of us will coach the way we were coached. We parent the way we were parented. Maybe we have habits or patterns in our life we'd like to change. I talked to a coach back in East, and I remember one time he just made a statement. He says, I want to coach with less regrets. And I go, what do you mean by that? He says, I want to get in the car after practice and drive home and not think, I shouldn't have said that to that kid, or I should have snapped, or I shouldn't have, and to be coaching for life is to coach with the end in mind, have a defined passion and purpose to develop people, and also to continue to develop as a leader and a servant ourselves. As we're looking at this list, we believe that coaching for life is more on the right-hand side. And if you're going to have a lasting impact and not wound the heart, but help make the heart and the person whole and complete, it's going to take a lot more on the right-hand side to have a lasting influence as a coach. So let's chart this so we can see when you can measure where you're at. We always call this the coach's legacy chart, and it's building a lasting foundation to be coaching for life and not just a season. So let's take our first cornerstone. First cornerstone there is the competitive piece. You're talking about the developing skills and game management. As we go up on the left-hand side, this is the body, the performance, and this is on the right, going across the chart on the bottom. It's your coaching for the game. I'm a great game coach. I prepare kids for games. We got great skills, and I'm a great game management coach, and you definitely need that. The second cornerstone, if we pop this in, is the competent piece, knowledge and teaching of the game. And this is where you're having an influence on teaching the game itself, and it's obviously you're coaching for your season. Kids are learning each week, getting better understanding of the game. It's more mental side of the game to get stronger mentally, and you got to be coaching in this area. The third cornerstone is the connection piece, the social piece. And here at the bottom, you're not just coaching for the game or the season, it's your program. And you're building a program that kids come back and visit. There's a long-term relationships that are built because of how people were treated on their team. I know teams, when the last buzzer sounds or whistle blows for the last game, there are kids in that locker room and will never want to see that coach ever again. And that's pretty unfortunate because I think we need to do a much better job as coaches with the relationship with our players. And these are 3 of the 4. And if we put the last cornerstone in there, the character piece, your integrity and moral and spiritual influence, this is where you're coaching for life. And I would say that you need all 4. You can't have one without the other. And there's some of us who maybe we're a little bit weaker in one and the other, or maybe we're stronger in others, and that's fine. But we're also saying as for younger coaches, because older coaches seem to pick this up later in life, is the biggest area here of influence is the red one, the biggest rectangle. It's the character piece. The connection piece is the second biggest. Then it's the competent, really the smallest piece of your coaching is the competitive piece. But you got to have all 4. So let's measure 4 different coaches on this and what that might look like. This first coach is very competitive, and he teaches the game well, but he's not good in his relationships, and he does nothing to really develop the character of his team, just kind of assume and hope things happen, and maybe his own character is questionable in a way, but his influence over time will dip off. During the game and the season, he has a great influence. Once the season's over, his influence and legacy and lasting foundation or endurance as a coach just kind of drifts off. Second one here is you may have a coach who really isn't very competitive, really isn't very confident, might be a great relationship guy and a character person, but obviously his output and performance, you start losing too many games, you're going to lose your job. And if you're not competitive and competent in what you do, I knew a coach who had great relationships with his players, cared for them very much, but was just a terrible coach. And didn't last very long. And when he tried to speak into kids' lives about character and the things that were beyond the court, do you think his kids listened to him? Because on the court, no one listened to him. He didn't make sense. He wasn't very good at it. So he lost his credibility when he wanted to share stuff that would help him for life. There's a third coach here who, boy, is incredibly competitive and competent in the game, but that's that coach that when that last buzzer sounds, last whistle blows, those kids don't ever want to see that guy again. And his influence just literally drops. And those are really unfortunate when that happens, because if we really put ourselves at a retirement banquet as a coach, who's going to show up and what are they going to say? And the last coach is one who is excellent in all areas. He's very competitive. He's competent. Great relationships with players, and his character has made a huge influence. You can look at the John Woodens of the world. You can look at the Dean Smiths, the Tom Osbornes, the Pat Summits, the coaches that over time, and the great high school and college coaches and youth coaches that have made such an influence on kids' lives. They have a legacy. The influence of a coach has on kids' lives is so powerful. And if we were to chart you today and look at you where you're at, competitive, competent, connection, and character, would it be a rising line that would dip out there, or would it kind of go across and stay kind of level or maybe dip down? So we want to challenge you as a coach in these four areas, that may you be excellent in each one. And some of us were stronger than others, and other ones were not as strong. We've got to work on some of them, one more than others. But you can kind of take a look at this and say, look at the four cornerstones where I'm at. A lot of younger coaches, and they spend a lot of time in the bottom two, the competitive and competent part. You got to find your coaching voice. You got to learn the game. And we can spend a lot of time and energy in that, but just realize the bigger pieces are the connection and the character piece. And you better learn that early. Don't be like coaches after 20, 25-year career, all of a sudden figure this out, and all of a sudden maybe the words mellow out a little bit and start treating people better. And they're more relaxed as a coach. And maybe that's just over time and experience. They become more confident in who they are. But as a coach, may we be at the bottom and not just coaching for a game, not just coaching for season or to build your program, but may we be coaching for life, to have a lasting influence on those that we've been entrusted with. So the question today is just, are you coaching for life and not just the season? Are you a coach that really cares about the character and the person behind that jersey, and want to influence and develop their lives beyond the court and field? That the stuff you're teaching them in sport to make them successful in their sport will be carried on beyond that. And we believe there's a generation of coaches that are doing that, and we want to raise up another one that are equipped and encouraged to go out and be coaching for life and not just a season. We want to encourage you. One of the things in coaching for life is you can become a Character Matters team and get equipped with the tools and resources we have to help you clearly communicate character to your team that would add a huge element to your team. So if you need any information on that, please go to our website or call us. We'd love to serve you and partner and come alongside you. We're working with teams from every level at this stage, giving tools and the practical tools in their hands to be more equipped as a coach to impact their players for their program. So appreciate you being on the webinar today, and remember, we're coaching for life and not just the season.